Hi everyone, Armine Bazikyan here from Bazikyan Law Group. This month we thought that it might be a good idea to have a little bit of fun, as much fun as we can have with the estate planning world. To explain a concept to all of you, we would like to use some illustrations to help you understand this very complex process or concept. In the world of trusts, everything is very intangible. You know, we write the agreement for the trust, but because the client passes away later on, they don't actually see how their trust comes to life. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about funding your trust. So the funding phase usually happens after a trust is created. And the way I like to describe a trust is to say that a trust is very similar to a basket. So we have a basket here, and this is exactly what your trust will look like. When you go in to see an attorney to create a trust, you will design your basket the way that you will need it, that will fit your family situation, your desires, and your assets. So for example, the size of the basket will be big enough, for example, to hold your assets. So that might affect the type of trust we do. So after we're done creating the trust for a client, we do what's called funding, which is essentially putting things into this basket. We finished creating the basket, but the biggest problem I see is emptiness. Most people keep their trusts empty. They don't actually do step 2, which is putting the things into the trust. And that's important because, as we mentioned in previous videos, if you pass away and you have assets that are owned by you personally, in your name, they go through a probate process. When you create a trust, you transfer title of those assets into the name of the trust. So if you are not putting things into your trust and you have an empty trust, you pretty much created it for no reason at all. So we're going to take Mrs. Bones, Karen Bones, as an example. So she has created a basket that's perfect for her family, and she has some assets that we want to make sure that we're going to put into this trust. So let's see what she has. She has some pets. So she has a cat and a dog. We want to make sure that we've written the trust to include her pets. So this would actually affect the design of the basket. It's not actually, it would actually affect both. It would affect the design of the basket, and because pets are personal property, we want to make sure that this basket contains all of her personal property, including pets. So it could be jewelry, pets, furnishings, artwork, everything. So we would put that into the basket. She also has some vehicles. We want to make sure that that's covered in the estate plan as well. She also has a cafe, right, that she owns. This is one of her businesses. So we would want to make sure that we have transferred her interest in this business that she owns into her trust. She owns a property that she lives in, some real estate. So we want to make sure that the grant deed to this real estate is showing the trust as the owner. A lot of times what I see is people will put their home into the trust name, and then when they go to do a refi, their mortgage company will say, let me take it out, do your refi, and I promise to put it back in. They do that, but then they forget to put it back in, so it actually stays outside of the trust. And that creates a problem because when she passes away, this is not going to be in the basket, which means I have to go to court and convince a judge to allow me to put it into the basket. So we always want to make sure title to your properties are in the trust. And, you know, it's Dr. Bones, not Mrs. Bones. She's actually a physician, so we want to make sure that her medical practice is in this trust as well. And we also want to make sure that this trust that we've created is designed for and to be able to handle her medical license corporation, her professional corporation as well. Because for professionals like lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, whatnot, your trust is going to look very different from the average person. So she has a few more stuff. So okay, she has some Tesla stock. We want to make sure that her Tesla stock is titled in the name of her trust. And so, you know, if you have a brokerage account somewhere, whether it's Ameritrade or Robinhood or whatever it is, you don't want to hold that in your personal name. You want to make sure that it's in your trust name. And, oh, she also has an interest in Flesh and Bones Beauty. So she's obviously a beauty influencer of some sort, which is nice. So we want to make sure that her interest in this corporation is titled in the name of the trust as well. So right here we see that it's Karen Bones. We want to take that away and make sure that there's a new certificate issued in the name of her trust as well. So that is what visually it looks like to fund a trust. It's literally taking assets and putting it into the trust. And she has some other stuff. So it looks like she has some kids, and we can't obviously put the kids in the trust, but I think we want to illustrate the fact that it is important to make sure that this trust is equipped to handle your guardianship nominations and the assets that you're leaving behind to your minor children as well. So essentially in the world of trusts, we have the trust itself, which is the basket, and then we have all of the things that you own being placed into the basket, and that's actually called funding the trust. I hope this video was helpful in illustrating what this intangible concept known as a trust is for some of you, and I hope it was even more helpful in demonstrating how important it is to not only do step one, which is creating that trust, but to do step two, which is transferring your assets into the trust and then reviewing them every so often to make sure that they've stayed in the trust. Okay. She also has some, cash and whatnot that we would also put into the trust. All of her assets that are appropriate for this trust we would transfer in, and Dr. Bones would move along with life. She would hold on to this trust and she would keep everything in here instead of storing it into her pockets moving forward. Remember, everything that is on her physically goes to court. Everything that's in this basket stays out of court. So that's a very important distinction. We don't want her to do the trust and then the following year to buy another property but tuck it in her pocket. We want to make sure that she transferred it into this trust. It's an ever-evolving concept. So I hope that was very helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our office. We'd be happy to help. Have a good one.